So the backlog of cases in this country has been discussed forever. But one wonders, why is it that India has not been able to tackle the problem of judicial backlog?
When we talk of judicial backlog in the country, you have to understand the judge to population ratio and see the cases that are being filed annually and the way their cases are being disposed of. Some 20-30 years back, in the Delhi High Court, Justice B.N. Kirpal was in the court too, and he had to dictate a judgment. He started dictating the judgment at 10:30 in the morning, dictated the whole day till 4:30 in the evening. He came again next day, started dictating at 10:30, dictated the whole day till 4:30 in the evening. The third day, he started dictating at 10:30 and he finished at 1:30, and then after lunch only matters were called out. If judges start doing this on a daily basis, you can understand there'll be no cases listed if the judges were to start dictating judgments in open court. So the disposal rate is fantastic, probably one of the best in the world as far as Supreme Court is concerned. The trial courts have a problem, and I'll deal with that. The trial courts, if you see the total backlog in this country, the total backlog is about 5 crore and odd cases. Out of that 5 crore and odd, about 3.5 crore are criminal cases. So only 1.5 crore are civil cases. Now, out of these 3.5 crore, there are large number of cases, probably more than 2 crore, which are of petty offences. And petty offences, I mean, offences which probably should have been decriminalized long time back. And these are small people languishing in jails, their cases not being taken up. Probably they don't have lawyers, they are not able to get proper legal aid in time. So hearings don't happen. Also, there are problems of infrastructure in the judiciary. There are problems of trial courts not having enough courtrooms. There are problems even in the Delhi lower judiciary when Justice Manmohan was the Chief Justice in Delhi. He had appointed he filled up all vacancies actually of judges. And then he realized that there are no rooms for them to sit. So he used to make them work in shift. He used to make them do online hearings, some of them. And similar in Bihar, I know for sure that there are courts where there is no paper. Client has to go with the paper of his own to get the judgments written by hand by somebody. There are no stenographers. The appointments, there are a large number of vacancies which are held up at some stage or the other. Things can definitely improve, especially as far as higher judiciary is concerned. I think if the quality of judges improved, the collegium system were to reinvent itself, and if there was more merit being appointed by the collegium, I think the disposal, which is already fantastic globally, considering the global standard, can even improve drastically. But that is actually a small problem. The bigger problem is of infrastructure, the bigger problem of vacancy, the bigger problem is of the laws not being tweaked. Recently, we have had this this bill which has been passed 2-3 days back by the Parliament, where they have decriminalized about 711 odd offences, and all these offences so far being, because it is already a criminal offence, people must be in jail and must be facing trial. Similarly, if you take the case of Bihar, again, the prohibition. The entire judicial system is clogged by cases of people, who are hauled up for having been found drunk or in possessing a bottle of liquor, facing criminal charges, and trial not going on because of the lack of number of judges or the sheer volume of cases being filed. So it's a problem which has multiple issues, and we have taken it up in our national conference in Bangalore, which we just did 2 to 3 weeks back. Justice Nagaratna, in her address, pointed out that the government is the biggest litigator. Government actually accounts for more than 50% of litigation. Not only that, these are cases where government is actually a party in the litigation, or this filing frivolous appeals in spite of not agreeing to the judgment which is given in favor of a citizen and taking it right up to Supreme Court, like the case recently where they dismissed with cost. But the government also is not ready to take hard decisions. Matters of environment, matters of large public interest, because in a democracy, the elected government feels that if it takes a strong decision which affects the common man, they will lose sympathy of the common man as far as the next voting is concerned. So they want the court to intervene in such matters. In today's Delhi's environment, openly bureaucrats are saying that we are looking at Supreme Court to also address the issue. Why Supreme Court should be addressing the issue at all? Why should not the Supreme Court be simply adjudicating the disputes that are coming vis-a-vis the appeals that are filed in Supreme Court of the matters pending in the High Court? The Supreme Court is deciding on whether cars of a particular emission norm should be permitted to enter Delhi or not. The Supreme Court should be deciding how emission norms of Delhi is to be controlled. The Supreme Court also has to decide that whether this crop burning that is happening in Punjab, whether it should be penalized or not, and whether what kind of implementation measures should be taken for seeing that crop burning does not happen. I don't understand why should the Supreme Court be doing all this. This is purely a job of the executive. If they were to take these kind of decisions of banning crop burning and taking the decision on their own, they will definitely lose the farmers' lobby as far as the election is concerned. So High Courts and Supreme Court to a large extent are doing the job of the government as far as the civic infrastructure is concerned, as far as pollution is concerned, as far as unauthorized construction is concerned, whereas these unauthorized construction should not have been allowed to happen at all in the first case, because it is the job of the state to ensure that the planning permission are completely obeyed. Now you say that judiciary is not acting. Judiciary is not disposing of these cases. The number of judges are far less than what is required. If you see the judge to population ratio, it is probably the worst in India and the world. And when you, in spite of that limitation, you see the disposal of the Indian judges. So I think this is a matter which needs a lot of debate by involving the civil society, the administrators, the parliamentarians, and the judiciary to sit with their heads down and try and find a solution. Because a functional judiciary, a judiciary where justice is delivered expeditiously, is the need of the hour. If the country has to grow, we have to, completely, finish off these pending cases. We have to start the mediation movement. I have said at various forums, I said it in my marathon that I did in Delhi where I said justice for all. I said the same thing in the Bangalore conference, that even if you decide all the cases today in the country, you will still not be achieving justice for all. Because half the people whose litigation would be decided against them will feel that they didn't get justice. So we need to start this mediation movement. We need to ensure that maximum number of cases go for mediated settlement, where there will be no further appeal, where both parties will feel that they have won, rather than one party feeling that I've lost. So that's the need of the hour. These are the, multi-pronged steps that we need to take and unburden the judiciary of the work which the executive is supposed to be doing and not doing because of the fact that it is going to result in, hard decisions which may affect the electorate. Why is China able to take hard decisions? Because there is no democracy. They know that they don't have to go to the people to get elected. So they're able to take hard decisions. So in a democracy also, the politicians in power should think beyond their next election, but they should think of the next generation. If they start doing that, I'm sure a lot of decision making will improve and the judiciary will be unburdened. They will be able to devote more time in disposing of the appeals and the litigations pending before them rather than entertaining more and more of these public interest litigations.
Thank you, sir.